If you are looking for free cloud pentesting lab with practical hands-on, keep on watching. Traditionally, the ultimate goal of every pentester is to gain domain admin privileges, the keys to the golden treasure. But how do you even start? In traditional networks, tools like Pincastle and BloodHound are used by security experts to map out the quickest path to these powerful privileges. They help you visualize the relationships between the users, computers, and groups, showing you exactly where the attacker might strike. But what happens when your environment moves to the cloud, specifically Microsoft Azure? That's where AzureHound comes in. And in this video, I will guide you through what AzureHound is, why it's important, and how to get it up and running. But before we get to that, we will need a pentesting lab environment where we can safely practice. And for that, we will use PWNEDLabs. You can register for free on PWNEDLabs and immediately get access to multiple labs. And some of them, as I said, are free. Not just Azure, but also AWS, or I believe it's also here for GCP. But we are specifically interested in Azure. So let me filter this. And we have one specifically designed for intro to Azure Recon with BloodHound. So we will use this and we have a brief overview what we will learn. Basically, it's all about AzureHound and BloodHound and how you can use it to gain the knowledge about the relationships and attack paths that might exist in the environment. I will just click on start phoning and you can turn on the lab right over here. Once you do so, you will get the Azure credentials, which you can use to log in to Azure portal. So we can try to do that right now. Let's actually, I will open new private window, just sure, and open the Azure portal. And my name is Rodriguez. So let me put it in and the password right here. Let's sign in, sure. And we are inside the environment itself. All right, we are inside the Azure and we could potentially check what are the privileges for this user. But that's not really the goal. The goal is to learn about the AzureHound. So let's do that. Let's install AzureHound and see what information we can get from this tool specifically. And actually, if you go back to the PWNEDLabs itself, you will see that all the way down below is a walkthrough and it goes through the steps how to install the BloodHound and the AzureHound and how to use it. Unfortunately, those steps are no longer valid and they were changed some time ago. That's why we are going to set up the BloodHound inside the Docker environment as is recommended by the documentation. In my setup, I will use Ubuntu to install Docker, and on top of that, we will install the BloodHound. But you could potentially use Windows as well, or any other distribution of Linux. And to install it, we will just simply follow the instruction on the official documentation. So first of all, we need to set up Docker's package repository to install the apt repository. Then we will download the latest Debian package and then install it as it follows. So let's open this in the new window and go through the steps. So let's first update and my password. And we will just put the commands one by one and hopefully everything will be working fine by the end. So just give it a single minute and let's see. All right, let's put another command inside. Let's install the earrings. All right, great. Now we can run this. Actually, we can copy it entirely. All right. Now, if we scroll down, we can install the Docker itself. Press yes and enter. And after Docker Engine is installed, we can download the package. I will simply click on this link and this should download the package. Let's give it a minute for it to download. You can open the folder. And actually we can open a new terminal right from here. Let's just minimize this and let's move this so you can see everything. And once we have this downloaded, we can update again. And now install it. Now that we have all the prerequisites, we can simply start the Docker and compose BloodHound container. To start Docker, you can write system ttl start Docker. And it was my password. Alright, cool. And finally, we will just put this one line command line. And this should start, okay. Permission denied. I believe there's a missing sudo. So let's put it inside here. And now it will compose the BloodHound and install it all for us. This can take a while. And once it's finished, you will need to find a password. The password itself will be shown somewhere in those logs once you set it up. So just scroll down and try to look for the initial password. So if I scroll down, I don't see it yet. And here it is. Initial password is set to this string right over here. So we can copy this. But before we do so, now we can access the BloodHound. BloodHound is accessible on localhost and on port 8080. So if I put it inside the web interface into the URL itself, now I can fill in the email address and password. So the default email address is set to admin. And now we will paste in the initial password. So let's log in. I don't want to save, and now it wants me to set up a new password with these restrictions. So let me actually save it someone else and just copy paste it in here. Reset password. Not now. Once you have BloodHound installed, now you need the data. As it's shown right over here, it appears that no data has been uploaded yet. See our data collection documentation to learn how to start collecting data. If you have files available from SharpHound or AzureHound collection, please visit the file ingest page to begin uploading your data. So that's what we are going to do. We will also set up AzureHound and then upload the file we will get from the account that we have access to from the PWNEDLabs. So let's move to the next step. Let's install the AzureHound itself. So let's move to the next step and install AzureHound. And this time I will use my Windows machine. So again, we will use the official documentation available on GitHub and install this tool. There are some prerequisites that you will need. First of all, you will need Go with version 1.18 as I'm recording this video. So if we click on this, you have multiple options how to download this. I already have Go and also other prerequisites that you might need, because that's not everything. Later you will need, I believe, Azure CLI, which is not mentioned in here, but just to be sure, I would also get that. Let me check AZ PowerShell. AZ PowerShell module. You will need to install the AZ PowerShell as well. Here are multiple options. So in this case, I would need it on Windows. And here you will need PowerShell version 7 or higher. And here are the steps how you can install this. So be aware of this. You will also need a Git. And I'm also using Visual Studio Code just to make it more clear. Once you have all the prerequisites, and I can check for you what is my Git version. My Git version is 2.44. Once you have everything set up, you can go and get the BloodHound, copy the repository itself. So let's just copy this, git clone AzureHound. Alright, cool. Now we have AzureHound in this folder. Let's move there actually. Alright. And we can build this package. We can simply just write go build and dot, and this will install the AzureHound in this repository. Now we have everything set up and we can start with our pen testing. To print all the Azure tenant data to a file, we simply need to use this command, which will require the username, the password, and the tenant. The tenant ID you can find once you log in and move to the Microsoft Entra ID. It will be presented right over here with the tenant ID. So let's run the command and see what we can get. So first of all, let's specify the AzureHound and select list. Username is Rodriguez. After that, we will specify the password and finally the tenant ID. Just copy paste it in here. I already tried the command before, so it's okay. I didn't want to do that. I already have it prepared. And lastly, you want to specify the name of the file where you want to save the list. Let's press enter. And it will get all the information, all the accesses that the user has, and print this into the file, which will be available in the same folder. So here is the output.json, which we will need to copy and paste into the BloodHound. We need to load all this information into the BloodHound itself. So let me copy this and I will create a new file inside my Linux virtual machine. Inside the download folder, I can just write nano and specify the name of the file, paste it inside, Ctrl X and save it. Now if we look, the output.json is inside the downloads folder. And we can simply take this and upload this file and drag and drop this right over here and upload this. Let's upload. Okay, successfully uploaded one file. Let's close. And the status is ingesting. So just give it a couple of seconds for it to analyze, and then we can explore the results together. Alright, the file is uploaded. Let's see what kind of information we can find about our user that we have access to. So we can start with the Explore button right in the top. If we click on this, we can search, use pathfinding, or use cipher query. So let's start with the search. We can search for our own user, or for our pwned user, I should say. So it's Jose Rodriguez. And let me actually zoom out a little bit. So this is our user. We can click on it and we will get some basic information about him. So we will get object ID, when were the user created, if it's on-prem synced enabled, which in this case is false. And we have also the tenant ID because some users might be a guest users. And we can see other information as well. The very important one is which is the member part of. So it's part of IT help desk default directory that grants help desk staff access to resources, which could potentially be very interesting. Usually you have different groups and you assign privileges to those groups. So this user could have some privileges that we could exploit later. So if we actually scroll down, we have roles sections in here. And let me actually zoom out a little bit further. And since we are part of this group, we have assigned attribute assignment reader, attribute definition reader, printer technician, and directory reader. So we don't have any admin privileges. All of this is just an reader. But just because we have reader privileges, it doesn't mean we cannot go further with them. It's still very valuable, and even as a reader, you can find some very interesting information and get further in your pen testing. We have attribute definition reader, which could potentially be interesting to us. Let's see what does the attribution definition reader and attribution assignment reader do. For people in organization to effectively work with custom security attributes, you must grant the appropriate access. How attributes. Every custom security attribute definition must be part of attribute set. Okay, so it looks like key value definitions. So maybe if we can read the attributes, maybe we can get information about some values that were put in. Let's see again. Okay, let's see users. And are there any attributes assigned? Let's see, manage view, edit columns. Want to see. Okay, it doesn't let me see if there are security attributes. And if I click custom security attributes, there are none. But maybe some of the users have something assigned. There are too many of them. I don't want to go one by one and see if there are any security attributes. So maybe we can use some APIs, some PowerShell script to loop through all the users. Maybe. This one, we can try to use this one, and we need to import module Microsoft Grab users. So let's create a simple PowerShell script which will loop through all the users and get the attributes values. For that you will need Microsoft Graph API module to be installed for PowerShell, so make sure to install it first. With this command right over here, we can install it. So if I copy this and paste it inside, this will install the module. I already have it, so I'm not going to attempt this, but make sure you do so. And once you have it, once you have the Microsoft Graph API module, you can continue with the steps. So we can import the modules for Microsoft Graph users. Okay, so let's try to do this actually. Can go here. And if we run this, okay, so everything looks fine. And let's try to run this. Get user ID because it's empty string. Okay, yeah, I didn't specify the user ID. So maybe if we go get mg user all. We need to connect to Microsoft Graph. Okay, so let's try to connect to Microsoft Graph. And if you didn't connect to Microsoft Graph before, a new pop-up window will be created in your browser and you need to sign in with your account. So once you do so, we can try to do one more time. All right, so here we are getting all the users and we have individual IDs for each of one, which we need to for this. Okay, so I guess we can loop through the user IDs. So first of all, we will get all the users, get the user IDs, and use the user IDs to get the custom security attributes. So nothing complicated. We can create a new file in here. Let's call it script. Okay, I think that should be fine. This should work. So if we try to run the script. Okay, so we found one attribute. The key is help desk. And look at this. We have password, which is data security. So there is some custom security attribute with this value. So we found the password, but I don't know which user this password belongs to. So let's make few changes to our script. I will add additional line, which will write the host, and we will be interested in the user display name. Okay, let's run this one more time. Perfect. It looped through all these accounts. I'm no longer interested in all this, but in here we have archive user, which has data security password. We found the user and potentially his password. We can try it in the portal and see what additional information we can now find. All right, so if we move to the users and we will search for archive, this is the archive user that we have found. And for the custom security attributes, there should be one in here. So it says it's an help desk attribute with attribute name passwords. This allows help desk staff to log in and troubleshoot as other users. And the assigned value is data security. So let's actually try. Let's log in as archive. Sign in with different account. And I will choose a different account. And the password we have found is here. So let's copy and paste. All right, cool. We are inside. Do we see anything at all? If we see virtual machines, we have nothing. For directory, we don't have any access. So we have found one way how to move and gain additional access in the cloud environment. But if I remember correctly, the objective was to get MD5 string. So let's go back to our original account and see if we can get some additional information. So I'm back on the original account. And if you remember correctly, we had the virtual machine reader privileges. And with those privileges, we cannot do much, but there is one piece of information that is worth checking out. And those are the metadata, specifically on this Azure virtual machine. Especially during the provisioning time, the administrator might want to run some custom script, set up the administrator username and password for the local admin, and they might do so with the user data tab, which is available to you, I believe it's in operating system. So maybe there is some kind of information which could be useful to us. You could also try to use the default credentials that we have already get access to and try to log in to this virtual machine with the same administrator username and with the same password, especially if this VM is open to the internet. Let's check it out. But this VM doesn't have public access, so that's not something we can do. But let's see if there is anything else in the operating system tab. So let's click in here and let's scroll down. So here is the user data that I was mentioning. You can pass a script, configuration file, or other data that will be accessible to your applications throughout the lifetimes of the virtual machine. Don't use user data for storing your secrets or passwords. So even Microsoft tells you that this shouldn't be used like this because of scenarios like this. We have just reader access, but in this case, the password was left out. And the password is used for the security user, which has access to Azure Storage Blob container, it looks like. So we can try to use this password to access the storage account and see what other kind of information we can get from the storage account itself. All right, okay, so let's log in as the security user. So let's sign in from another, and I should have saved the password actually. So let me go back really fast and copy paste the password so I have it. So virtual machines, security PC, it's in operating system, and let me copy this, and now I can sign in. So use another account, and this will be security user at megabigtech.com, and the password is like this, and it was using the container which we have here. Let's click here, and I believe this is our final challenge. This will have the MD5 file. So if we go to storage browser, recently viewed the security PC, and here is the flag txt file. So if we open this, there is a content MD5. So I believe this should be it. That should be our flag. Maybe we can download this file and it will be inside this. And I believe that's it. We can try to put in the MD5 hash. I will enter the flag, submit, and it was successful. We completed this challenge. So as you could see, BloodHound and AzureHound can be very powerful tools, which will help you to decide how to gain additional access in the cloud environment. I hope you learned something new, and if you want to see more videos like this in the future, please let me know in the comments. Thank you for watching.